Alright, so the question for today is, which is better, Bitcoin or gold? Well, it depends on what you are looking for. I mean, it's a good thing actually that they're not the same. It means that you have a choice actually. So whatever you're looking for in an asset, you can choose accordingly, and also I include in that relative amounts, how much of each do you want in order to match your personal risk profile. So you may have heard that Bitcoin is basically a store of wealth, and obviously that's what gold is already. Gold for probably, I guess, centuries, if not longer, has been the hardest store of wealth that exists on the planet, right? It can be transported, it's very difficult to destroy, there's a limited amount of it on the earth, although it is, there's a slightly steadily increasing supply of it, about 3% per year the last time I checked, and it resists all kinds of economic catastrophe because it always has applications in industry, heavy, light, old, or new. So gold is a wonderful thing and has been valued by societies all throughout history, and all of that makes it a great store of wealth. Now, Bitcoin is relatively new. It's only 15 years old. It was originally supposed to be a peer-to-peer transaction system. However, I think the general consensus is that it's not particularly great at that. It is actually a very strong store of wealth, however, and as it turns out, strong stores of wealth are not really great for microtransactions between individuals. That's part of the reason why we don't use gold anymore. It's more easier to use something like regular coins and banknotes, which are really just promises from some central authority, although there are all kinds of issues there, which is part of the reason why gold and Bitcoin have a great popularity. Now, Bitcoin is a great store of wealth. However, it's still relatively young. In my belief, and you may disagree with me, in my belief and also others, it is a superior store of wealth to gold. However, it suffers some disadvantages while it's still young. I believe that eventually, on all fronts, it will be a better store of wealth than gold one day. It might take 50 or 100 years. It's going to take some time to get there. But currently it's highly volatile because it's quite young, because it's still being adopted. Gold has been adopted around the world. It's reached all four corners of the globe, let's say, a long time ago. Bitcoin is not like that. It's still rising in adoption. It's only just getting securitized and available as ETFs. Most countries don't really hold any sizable reserves of it. We're only just now seeing talk about that, putting it alongside gold in countries' reserves in order to encourage confidence in a nation from other countries and companies and etc. that want to do trade, for example. And that's what gold reserves are for, to show confidence, economic confidence, basically. So it's not at that stage. It's still early adoption, and as a result, it is really quite volatile. It is in general going up at an exponential rate, but that's only if you look at it in the long term and you hold it for 5, 10, 15 years. If you hold it for a period of, let's say, months, well, there's a high chance that you can even lose. So it's very, very volatile right now, up and down, chopping and changing, although gradually in the long term going up. So in my view, in the long term, it will be looking more stable than gold. And by the way, gold also goes up and down, right? Don't get me wrong. It's not just a steady straight line that goes up as confidence in the banking system continues to deteriorate, because money is just being printed and thrown into the economy and making everyone else's US dollars and other fiat currency just gradually reduce in value. So even gold is not just a straight trajectory up, a straight line. It is also up and down. But of course, Bitcoin is way more volatile. So which is better? Like I said, they're different. I think that one day it will be a very clear picture. I believe that Bitcoin will be clearly better on every front compared to gold when it's a mature store of wealth just like gold. I believe that Bitcoin will beat it, because I believe that Bitcoin is a harder asset and it is more difficult to destroy. It is easier to transport the wealth from one person to another, right? You can do it around the world. You can't do that with gold. It's heavy. You've got to literally stick it in an airplane or something. Bitcoin, you don't have that. It's electronic. It's also more decentralized as well, in my view. Bitcoin is run by 20,000 nodes, the entire network. Now, I suppose there's no network for gold, but you do have, like I said, those problems with transporting. It's not digital at all. It's physical. Now, I'll leave that to you whether you think that's good or bad, that if something is physical rather than digital. But look, I personally think that eventually on all fronts it will be better. Until that day, it does make sense to have some gold. Now, there's a whole argument about what kind of gold to have. Physical or an ETF or something similar where what you're issued is backed by gold. Of course, that then has to undergo an audit. There's associated risk there of something that is supposed to be pegged to gold, right? So that's a whole other argument. That's a whole other debate that you can investigate separately. But which is better, Bitcoin or gold? As a store of wealth, currently they compete. In the long term, I believe Bitcoin. Now, what about as a speculative asset to look for long-term return for? Then I'm going to say Bitcoin. Why? Because it's, if we're looking for long-term appreciation, then for me that's all down to adoption, and both of them will go up just because fiat money, US dollars, etc., is being debased because money keeps being printed by governments and central banks. So they will both rise because of that. However, I believe Bitcoin has further to rise and will rise quicker because it's still young and it's still way earlier on the adoption curve compared to gold, which has been around for centuries, if not longer, and has been valued for that amount of time as well. So which is better in terms of long-term appreciation? In my opinion, there's no competition there. It's Bitcoin. But remember, it's highly volatile. No one's going to make a quick buck out of it, right? By the way, right, I want to underline which is better. This is not financial advice that I'm giving you. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not qualified to give financial advice. This is just me, like average Joe down the bar, what I personally think. This is my opinion. This is not a financial advice whatsoever. But in my opinion, as a store of wealth in the long term, Bitcoin is better. And in my opinion, as something you want to invest and get return on in the long term, if you had a choice between the two, I also think Bitcoin is better. So I hope that helps you better understand the differences and you make your own decisions, seek your own financial advice. This is just my opinion. Let me know what you think down below. I'm very curious to know what you think. If you like this discussion, give it a like. I will speak to you again soon. Take care. Bye bye.